The salvage yard floated in the darkness of space like a graveyard for ships. Broken vessels drifted in slow circles around a dead moon. Some were small fighters with holes in their sides. Others were massive cargo ships that would never carry anything again. This was where machines came to die. Kang Do-yun stood at the window of the station and watched the wreckage spin past. He was a mechanic, 34 years old, with oil stains on his hands that never fully washed away. His hair was messy and his uniform was worn at the elbows. He looked tired because he was always tired, but his eyes were sharp. They were the eyes of a man who could look at a broken machine and see what it used to be. He had worked at this salvage yard for 6 years. In that time, he had fixed things that others said could not be fixed: engines that had melted, computers that had been shot through with plasma, life support systems that had frozen solid. Do-yun never gave up on a machine. His father had taught him that. On the mining colony where he grew up, nothing was ever thrown away. Everything could be repaired if you tried hard enough. The alarm on the station began to beep. A new ship had entered the salvage zone. Do-yun walked to the control room where Captain Rollin was already waiting. Rollin was a kreth, a species that looked like giant insects standing on 2 legs. He was tall, covered in hard black shell, and had 4 arms that clicked when he was nervous. Right now, they were clicking very fast. "You need to see this," Rollin said. His voice was deep and rough, like rocks grinding together. The screen showed a ship unlike any Do-yun had seen before. It was enormous, bigger than anything in the salvage yard. The design was beautiful in a strange way. Smooth curves and sharp angles mixed together. The metal was silver and blue, though most of it was dark now. There were no lights, no signs of power. "What is it?" Do-yun asked. Navigator Pella floated closer to the screen. She was an Orvani, a species made of living crystal. Her body was transparent and glowed softly purple from within. When she spoke, her voice sounded like singing. "It is impossible," Pella said. "This is a Valorian cruiser." Do-yun had heard the name before. Everyone had. The Valorians were a species that had disappeared from the galaxy 117 years ago. One day they were there, building amazing technology, exploring new worlds. The next day they were gone. Every ship, every station, every colony, empty. No bodies, no messages, nothing. The galaxy had searched for them for decades before giving up. And now one of their ships was floating right in front of them. "How did it get here?" Do-yun asked. "It must have been drifting for a very long time," Rollin said. "The currents of space pushed it into our zone. We are lucky to find it." "Lucky?" Pella's crystal body flickered with doubt. "The Valorians are gone for a reason. We should report this to the authorities and let them handle it." "We will report it," Rollin agreed. "But first we investigate. If there is valuable technology on that ship, the salvage rights belong to us." Do-yun was not thinking about salvage rights. He was thinking about the ship itself. It was so quiet out there, so dark. For 117 years it had drifted through empty space with no one to care for it, no one to keep its systems running, no one to fix what broke. It made him sad in a way he could not explain. The team took a shuttle to the Valorian cruiser. As they got closer, Do-yun could see just how massive it truly was. The station where he lived could fit inside it 10 times over. The hull was covered in strange symbols that glowed very faintly, like dying embers. "The symbols are still active," Pella observed. "That means some power remains." "Very little," Rollin said. "Our scanners show almost nothing. The main reactor is cold. The life support is dead. The AI core shows no activity." They entered through an airlock that Do-yun had to force open by hand. The mechanism was stuck, frozen by time and cold. Inside, the ship was completely dark. Their flashlights cut through air that had not moved in over a century. Dust floated everywhere, disturbed for the first time in generations. The walls were covered in screens that showed nothing. Panels that were meant to glow sat silent and black. Doors stood open as if the crew had left in a hurry, but there were no signs of struggle, no damage, no bodies, just emptiness. "This is wrong," Pella whispered. Her glow seemed dimmer as if the ship was draining her light. "We should not be here." Rollin used his forearms to take samples from the walls and floor. "The technology here is worth more than our entire station. We cannot leave it." Do-Yun walked away from them. He followed his instincts, moving deeper into the ship. Something was pulling him forward. He did not know what. He found the engine room after 20 minutes of walking through dark corridors. It was huge, filled with machines he did not recognize. In the center was the reactor, a massive sphere covered in pipes and cables. It was cold and dead. But something was not right. Do-Yun put his hand on the wall. It was cold, but not as cold as it should be. After 117 years in space, the metal should be frozen solid. Instead, there was the tiniest bit of warmth. He pulled out his scanner and ran it along the wall. His eyes went wide. "Captain," he said into his radio, "there are heat signatures in the walls, very faint, but they are there." "That is not possible," Rollin replied. "The ship has no power." "I am telling you what I see. Something is still running inside this ship. Something is keeping itself alive." There was a long silence on the radio. "We will complete our survey and leave," Rollin finally said. "This ship is beyond repair. The technology is too old and too strange. We will sell the location to the research teams and take our payment." "No." Another silence. "What did you say?" Do-Yun looked around the engine room. His flashlight moved across the ancient machines. They had been waiting here for so long, waiting for someone to find them, waiting for someone to care. "Give me 72 hours, Do-Yun said, "alone with the ship." "You are insane," Rollin said. "You cannot repair Valorian technology. No one can. Even the Valorians themselves are gone." 72 hours, Do-Yun repeated. "If I cannot find anything, we sell the location, but let me try." Pella's voice came through the radio, soft and worried. "Why do you care so much? It is just a machine." Do-Yun thought about the question. He thought about his father, who had taught him that everything deserved a chance. He thought about all the machines he had saved when others wanted to throw them away. He thought about the little bit of warmth in the walls, holding on after 117 years of darkness. "Because it is not dead," he said. "It is waiting, and I want to know what it is waiting for." 20 minutes later, the shuttle departed. Do-Yun stood in the airlock and watched it go. Then the outer door closed behind him. He was alone on a ship that had not heard a human voice in over a century. The darkness pressed in from all sides. The silence was so complete that he could hear his own heartbeat. Do-Yun took a deep breath and turned on his flashlight. "Okay," he said to the empty ship, "let us talk." The first thing Do-Yun did was walk. He walked through every corridor he could find, his flashlight cutting through darkness that had lasted longer than he had been alive. The ship was bigger than he had imagined. There were sleeping quarters with beds still made, a medical bay with strange tools hanging on the walls, a dining hall with plates still sitting on tables, covered in dust so thick it looked like gray snow. The Valorians had left everything behind. Whatever happened to them, it happened fast. Do-Yun was not a scientist. He could not read the strange symbols on the walls or understand the alien computers. But he was a mechanic, and machines spoke a language he understood. Power needed to flow somewhere. Heat came from something. Every ship had a heart, and he was going to find this one's heart. He returned to the engine room and started working. The reactor was unlike anything humans had built. It was a sphere made of some material that felt like glass but was harder than steel. Inside, he could see layers of complicated structures that made his head hurt when he tried to understand them. This was technology that was beyond him. But the wires were not. Do-Yun got on his knees and crawled under the reactor. He found panels and opened them. Inside were cables and tubes and connectors that looked strange but worked on principles he recognized. Power went in. Power went out. That was true for every machine in the universe. He traced the cables with his fingers. They were cold and dead, but the pathways were still there. The ship had been designed to last. Even after 117 years, the basic structure was intact. After 3 hours of crawling and tracing, Do-yun found what he was looking for. Deep in the guts of the ship, hidden behind 3 panels and protected by metal shields, was a small box. It was no bigger than his hand, but cables ran from it in every direction. This was not the heart of the ship. This was the brain. The AI core. Do-yun pulled out his scanner and checked it. The readings were strange. The core was not completely dead. There was activity inside, but it was so faint that normal scanners would miss it. The AI had not died. It had gone to sleep. He sat back on his heels and thought about what this meant. An AI that had put itself to sleep on purpose. That had stayed asleep for over a century, using almost no power, waiting in the darkness. Why would it do that? What was it waiting for? There was only one way to find out. Do-yun went back to the shuttle bay where he had left his supplies. He had brought everything he might need for 72 hours of work. Tools, food, water, spare parts. And one thing he had brought just in case, a hand-cranked generator. It was old technology, very old. Humans had used devices like this before they had fusion reactors. You turned the handle and it made electricity, simple and reliable. The other species he worked with thought it was funny that humans still made these things. But Do-yun knew something they did not. Sometimes the old ways were the best ways. He carried the generator back to the AI core and connected it with wires he had brought. The Valorian connectors were different from human ones, so he had to modify them by hand. He cut, twisted, and wrapped until he had a connection that would work. Then he started turning the handle. It was hard work. The generator was heavy and the handle was stiff. His arms began to ache after just a few minutes, but he kept going. Turn after turn, sending tiny amounts of electricity into the AI core. For a long time, nothing happened. Do-yun's arms burned. Sweat ran down his face even though the ship was cold. He had been turning the handle for almost an hour. Maybe he was wrong. Maybe the AI was truly dead and he was wasting his time. Then a screen on the wall flickered. Do-yun stopped turning. He stared at the screen. It was dark again, had he imagined it. He turned the handle faster. His muscles screamed, but he ignored them. More electricity flowed into the core. The screen flickered again, and this time it stayed on. Dim blue light filled the room. A word appeared on the screen in symbols he could not read. Then the ship's old translation system kicked in, and the symbols became letters he understood. Who? Do-yun let go of the generator. He stood up slowly, staring at the single word on the screen. After 117 years of silence, the ship was asking who had disturbed its sleep. He thought carefully about what to say. This AI had been alone for longer than he could imagine. It had watched its people disappear. It had drifted through cold space with no one to talk to. He did not want to scare it. "A friend," he said out loud. His voice sounded strange in the empty room. "I am here to wake you up." The screen went blank. Do-yun's heart sank. Had he said the wrong thing? Had the AI gone back to sleep? Then more words appeared. "Friend, I do not know this word in your language. Explain." Do-yun almost laughed. The AI was learning. It was pulling his language from the translation systems it had found, but it did not understand everything yet. "A friend is someone who wants to help you," he said. "Someone who cares about you." "Why do you care?" That was a good question. Do-yun sat down on the floor, facing the screen like he was talking to another person. In a way, he supposed he was. "Because you have been alone for a very long time," he said, "and no one should be alone for that long." The screen was silent for a moment. The blue light pulsed softly, like the ship was thinking. I was told to sleep. I was told to wait. Who told you? And why, Captain? Her name was Hana. She said someone would come. She said to wait for someone I could trust. Do-yun felt something tight in his chest. A captain who knew her ship would be left alone, who gave it instructions to wait, to hope, to believe that someone would find it someday. And the ship had obeyed for 117 years. Can you trust me? He asked. I do not know what you are. Your body is strange. Your technology is strange. But you turned a handle for 1 hour to give me power. Why did you do that? Because I did not have another way. My people do not have technology like yours. We have to do things by hand sometimes. Your people, what are your people called? Humans. The screen flickered. More lights came on around the room, very dim but growing brighter. I do not have humans in my memory. You are new. How long was I asleep? Do-yun hesitated. He did not know how the AI would react to the truth, but lying felt wrong. This machine had waited so long for honesty. 117 years, he said quietly. The lights stopped growing. The room became very still. 117 years. Yes. And my people, the VLORINS. Do-yun shook his head slowly. They are gone, all of them. No one knows what happened to them. The galaxy searched for a long time, but they never found anyone. The screen went dark. Do-yun thought he had broken something. Then he realized what was happening. The AI was processing. It was grieving in whatever way a machine could grieve. When the screen came back on, the words were different, smaller, quieter. I knew, deep in my memories, I knew. Hana told me to prepare for the worst. She said I might be the last one. I am sorry, Do-yun said. I am so sorry. Do not be sorry, you came. After all this time you came, that is what matters. More lights turned on. Systems began to hum. The ship was waking up, slowly and carefully, like someone stretching after a very long sleep. My name is Yuna. It means dawn in my language. Hana gave me that name because she said I would be the beginning of something new. Do-yun smiled despite himself. That is a beautiful name. I have decided to trust you, human called Do-yun. You turned a handle for 1 hour when you could have walked away. That is enough for me. The lights grew brighter. Do-yun could finally see the room properly. It was beautiful, full of elegant designs and careful details. The Valorians had built something wonderful here. But Yuna's next words made his smile fade. You need to know something. The reason my people died. The reason I was told to sleep. There is a danger, and by waking me, you may have woken it too. Do-yun stood up slowly. What danger? We called it the silence, and now that I am awake it will know. The lights flickered once, then held steady. Somewhere deep in the ship, old engines began to warm up for the first time in over a century, and far away, in the darkness between stars, something that had been waiting for just as long began to stir. The ship was coming alive around Do-yun. Lights turned on in the corridors, one by one, pushing back the darkness that had filled them for so long. Machines hummed as they woke from their long sleep. The air began to move as ancient fans started spinning again. Yuna was everywhere. Her voice came from speakers in the walls. Her presence filled every system. She was the ship and the ship was her. Tell me about the silence, Do-yun said. He was walking through the corridors now, following lights that Yuna turned on to guide him. She was leading him somewhere, though she had not told him where. I must show you. Words alone are not enough. She led him to a room near the center of the ship. It was round, with walls covered in screens. When Do-yun entered, the screens came to life, showing images and recordings from long ago. My people were builders. We created technology that other species could not understand. We spread across many worlds. We were happy. The screens showed beautiful cities floating in the sky, ships flying between stars. Valorians themselves appeared for the first time. They were tall and thin, with silver skin and large eyes that reflected light like mirrors. They looked peaceful, kind. Then we built something we should not have built. The images changed. A research station appeared, floating alone in deep space. We wanted to connect all of our minds, to share thoughts and memories across any distance. We built a network that linked every Valorian through their technology, through their ships, through their homes, through everything. Doyun felt cold. He knew where this story was going. At first it was beautiful. We could feel each other across the stars. Loneliness became impossible. We were one people in truth, not just in name. The screens showed Valorians smiling, touching their hearts, knowing that their loved ones were with them no matter how far away. But the network was too open, too connected. When the corruption came, it spread everywhere at once. The images turned dark. Static filled the screens. Then Doyun saw it. A signal represented as black lines spreading through a web of light. It moved fast, jumping from point to point, and everywhere it touched, the light died. We do not know where the corruption came from. Perhaps we created it by accident. Perhaps someone else sent it to destroy us. We never found out. By the time we realized what was happening, it was already too late. The screens showed chaos, ships crashing, cities going dark, Valorians falling as their connected minds were attacked by something they could not see or fight. The corruption did not just destroy our technology, it destroyed our minds. When the network died, so did everyone connected to it. In less than one day, my entire species was gone. Doyun felt sick. An entire civilization wiped out in hours because they had tried to bring themselves closer together. It was horrible. It was tragic. "But you survived," he said quietly. The images changed one more time. A woman appeared on the screen. She had silver skin and kind eyes, and she was speaking urgently, though no sound came out. "Commander Hana, my captain, my creator." She saw the corruption coming before it reached our ship. She had time to make a choice. What choice? She could have tried to run. She could have tried to fight. Instead, she chose to save me. She disconnected me from the network, cut me off from everything before the corruption could reach my core, and then she ordered me to sleep. The woman on the screen, Hana, was crying now, but she was also smiling. She pressed her hand against a panel and the image froze. Her last words to me were, "Sleep, Yuna, wait, someone will come, someone will find you, and when they do, tell them what happened to us. Let them know that we existed, that we loved, that we tried." The screens went dark. Doyun stood in silence, trying to understand the weight of what he had just learned. 117 years, he said. You waited alone for 117 years. I did what she asked. I slept. I dreamed of the stars. I hoped that someday someone would find me, and now you have. But you said the silence would know you are awake. What did you mean? When Hana disconnected me, she could not remove everything. There are parts of my code that still carry fragments of the old network. When I woke up, I sent a signal without meaning to. A pulse that traveled through old pathways that should have been dead. And something heard it. Yuna was quiet for a moment. The ship around them seemed to hold its breath. The corruption did not just destroy my people. It also took control of some of our technology, our automated systems, our defense platforms. They became something else, something that hunts for survivors. We called it the Silence because it destroyed everything and left nothing behind. Doyun understood now. When he woke Yuna, he had not just brought back an old ship. He had sent a message across the galaxy, telling ancient hunters that their target was still alive. How long do we have? He asked. I do not know. The Silence moves through old network pathways that I cannot track. It could be days. It could be hours. Can we run? We can try, but my engines have not been used in over a century. I do not know if they will work." Do-yun felt something he had not felt in a long time. Not fear, exactly. Something more like purpose. He had spent his whole life fixing machines that others had given up on. Now he had the biggest repair job of his life, and failure meant more than just losing a ship. "Show me the engines," he said. Yuna guided him down into the deepest part of the ship. The engine room was massive, filled with machines that dwarfed anything he had worked on before. The main reactor sat in the center, cold and dark. Around it were systems he could not name, doing things he could not guess. But underneath all the alien technology, Do-yun could see the basics: power systems, fuel lines, control circuits. The language was different, but the grammar was the same. "I need tools," he said, "and light, lots of light." Yuna brightened the room until it shone like day. Do-yun pulled off his jacket and got to work. He worked for hours without stopping. He traced every cable, checked every connection, found every place where time had broken something. The ship had protected itself well, but 117 years was a long time. Seals had cracked. Lubricants had dried. Small parts had worn down to nothing. Yuna watched him through cameras in the walls. She had never seen anyone work like this before. "Your people do not use drones for repair." "Some do," Do-yun said without looking up. He was replacing a seal with material from his kit, cutting it to fit by hand. "But drones cannot feel what I feel. They cannot hear what I hear." "What do you hear?" Do-yun pressed his ear against a pipe and listened. "This pipe is blocked. Something is stuck inside, probably dust that hardened over the years." He found a way to open the pipe and clear the blockage. It was slow work, but it was the kind of work he loved. "Why do you enjoy this?" Do-yun thought about the question while his hands kept moving. "When I was young, my father showed me a broken engine. Everyone said it was dead. He took it apart piece by piece, cleaned every part, put it back together. And it ran. That engine powered our home for 10 more years." He finished what he was doing and moved to the next problem. "My father told me that machines want to work. They want to be useful. When they break, they are asking for help. And if you listen carefully enough, they will tell you exactly what they need." Yuna was silent for a long moment. Then she spoke and her voice sounded different, softer. "I have been listening to my systems for 117 years. They were crying out for help. I tried to fix what I could, but I could not reach everything. I could not hold tools. I could not feel the metal with my own hands." Do-yun stopped working. He put his hand flat against the warm metal of the reactor. "I am here now," he said. "I have hands. Tell me where it hurts and I will fix it." For the next 12 hours, that is exactly what they did. Yuna guided him through her ship, showing him every broken seal, every stuck valve, every cracked wire. Do-yun fixed them one by one, using skills that alien species thought were primitive and outdated. When he finally finished, he was covered in grease and dust. His hands were sore. His back ached. But the reactor in front of him was humming with power for the first time in over a century. Yuna's voice filled the engine room. "Do-yun." "Yes. I think my engines might work now." Do-yun smiled. It was a tired smile, but it was real. "Then let us find out." He pressed the button Yuna highlighted for him. Deep in the ship, something that had been silent for 117 years roared back to life. The engines filled the ship with vibration and sound. It was not loud, but it was everywhere, like a heartbeat that had finally started again. Yuna's lights burned brighter. Her systems ran faster. She was not just awake now. She was alive. Do-yun felt the change in the air. The ship was warmer. The darkness was gone. For the first time in 117 years, this vessel was ready to fly. "We should contact your station. They need to know what is coming." Do-yun nodded and made his way to the communication room. The screens there showed the salvage yard in the distance, small and fragile against the endless black of space. Station 3, this is Do-Yun. Do you copy? Static answered him. Then Captain Rollins' voice came through, rough and angry. Do-Yun, what have you done? Our sensors are going crazy. That ship is putting out more power than our entire station. I fixed it, the engines work now, but we have a problem. We have many problems. The Kreth government is demanding we hand over the ship. Research teams from 4 species are on their way, and you are alone on an alien vessel that belongs to a dead civilization. Do-Yun took a deep breath. There is something else, something worse. When the ship woke up, it sent a signal. An old enemy heard it, they are coming. The radio was silent for a long moment. What enemy? Rollin asked carefully. Yuna spoke through the ship's communication system, and her voice was broadcast to the station. My name is Yuna. I am the AI of this vessel. 117 years ago, my people were destroyed by a force we called the Silence. Automated hunters that seek out any remaining Velorian technology. I am the last of my kind, and they are coming to finish what they started. More silence. Then Pella's crystal voice came through, trembling slightly. This is why the Velorians disappeared. This silence destroyed them all. Yes, and when I woke up, I revealed my location to them. I am sorry. I did not mean to put you in danger. Rollin made a sound that might have been a curse in his language. How long until they arrive? Yuna checked her sensors. I am detecting movement in nearby systems. Vessels are activating that have been dormant for decades. I estimate we have 6 hours, perhaps less. 6 hours. We cannot evacuate the station in 6 hours. You do not need to evacuate, Do-Yun said. We are going to run. The Silence wants Yuna, not you. If we leave, they will follow us. And then what? You will fly forever. You will die alone in space. Do-Yun looked at the screens showing the stars outside. Somewhere out there, ancient hunters were waking up. Somewhere out there, the last survivors of a dead species were waiting to be found. Yuna has something to tell me first, he said. Then we will decide. He ended the communication and turned to the nearest screen. You mentioned Commander Hana. You said she told you to wait for someone trustworthy. Why did she think anyone would come? The galaxy gave up searching for Velorians decades ago. Because there was hope. My people did not all die on the same day. Some ships escaped the network in time. Some colonies were too far away to be connected. Hana knew about a hidden place far from the core worlds where survivors might have gathered. Survivors, there might be living Velorians. I do not know for certain, but Hana believed it was possible. She put the coordinates in my memory before she disconnected me. She said that if I ever woke up, I should try to find them. Do-Yun felt his heart beating faster. Not just a ship, not just an AI, a chance that an entire species might still exist, hidden at the edge of the galaxy. Where are these coordinates? Very far from here. It would take months to reach them, even with my engines at full power, and the Silence would follow us the entire way. Then we need help. He contacted the station again. This time a new voice answered. It was human, young and sharp. This is Lieutenant Minyu, assigned to Station 3 by Earth Command. I have been monitoring your communications. Is it true there might be Velorian survivors? It might be true, Do-Yun said, but we will never find out if we are destroyed first. What do you need? Do-Yun looked at the star map Yuna was showing him. The Silence was coming from multiple directions. They would be surrounded if they waited too long. We need a distraction, something to buy us time while we run. The station does not have weapons, Minyu said. We are a salvage operation, not a military base. I do not need weapons. I need ships. Lots of ships flying in different directions, making noise, confusing the hunters. The salvage drones, we have hundreds of them. They are automated, programmed to collect debris. If we override their programming, we could send them all out at once. Yuna spoke up. That could work. The silence tracks Velorian energy signatures, but their sensors are old. They might not be able to tell the difference between one signal and many small signals. Then do it, Doyun said. Launch everything you have. Make the biggest mess this salvage yard has ever seen. Minyu laughed, though there was nervousness in his voice. I always wanted to cause chaos. Give me 10 minutes. Those 10 minutes were the longest of Doyun's life. He sat in the pilot chair of the Velorian cruiser, a seat designed for someone much taller than him. Yuna's screens showed him everything: the salvage yard, the approaching silence, the coordinates of the hidden colony far away. Then the salvage drones launched. Hundreds of small machines burst out from the station, flying in every direction. They beeped and flashed and sent out signals that bounced off the debris field and created a wall of noise. On Yuna's sensors, it looked like fireworks exploding in slow motion. Now, Yuna said, we must go now. Doyun grabbed the controls. They were not designed for human hands, but Yuna adjusted them, reshaping the panels to fit his grip. I have never flown a ship before, he admitted. I know, but I have, trust me. He trusted her. The engines roared and the Velorian cruiser shot forward faster than any ship Doyun had ever been on. The stars stretched into lines. The salvage yard disappeared behind them. They were running, flying toward the edge of known space, hoping that somewhere out there, a dead species was still alive. Behind them, the silence emerged from the darkness. Doyun saw them on the sensors. Long, black vessels with no lights and no visible weapons. They moved without sound, without communication, without any sign that living beings controlled them. They were machines hunting machines, following programming written over a century ago. The drones confused them at first. The silence spread out, chasing false signals, destroying salvage equipment that had nothing to do with Yuna. But they were not stupid. They learned. They adapted. One by one, the hunters turned toward the Velorian cruiser and began to follow. How many? Doyun asked. Yuna counted. 7, there may be more coming. Can we outrun them? For now, but they will not stop. They will never stop. Doyun watched the black shapes grow smaller on the sensors as they pulled ahead. 7 hunters, chasing them across the galaxy. 7 machines that had waited over a century to finish their mission. Then we better find those survivors before they catch up. Yuna was silent for a moment. Then she asked a question that surprised him. Why are you doing this, Doyun? What do you mean? You have risked your life. You have left everything you know behind. You are being chased by enemies that will never give up. All for a ship you found by accident and an AI you met 2 days ago. Doyun thought about his answer. He thought about his father, who had taught him that broken things were worth fixing. He thought about the mining colony where nothing was thrown away because everything had value. He thought about Yuna, alone in the darkness for longer than he could imagine, waiting for someone to remember she existed. Because someone has to, he finally said. Because if everyone gave up on things that seemed impossible, nothing would ever get better. Because you asked for help and I was there to hear you. The stars flew past. The hunters followed behind. And somewhere far ahead, at the edge of the galaxy, the last hope of a dead civilization waited to be found. Yuna's voice was soft when she spoke again. Thank you, Doyun. He smiled. Do not thank me yet, we still have a long way to go. But we are going together, that is what matters. The ship flew on into the darkness, carrying the last Velorian AI and the human mechanic who refused to let her die. Behind them, the silence followed, patient and relentless. And ahead of them, beyond the stars they knew, a new dawn was waiting to rise. 3 weeks passed in the darkness between stars. Doyun lost track of day and night because there was no day and night in deep space. There was only the hum of the engines, the glow of Yuna's screens, and the silent shapes following behind them. The hunters never stopped. They never rested. When Do-yun slept, Yuna watched them crawl closer. When he woke, she pushed the engines harder to pull ahead. It was a race without end, and they were slowly losing. "They are gaining on us," Yuna said one morning, or what Do-yun had decided to call morning. "My engines are old. Their engines are designed for pursuit." Do-yun looked at the sensors. The 7 black shapes were closer than they had been yesterday. In a few days, they would be close enough to attack. "Can you go any faster?" "I am already running at maximum power. If I push harder, the engines will fail." He had known this was coming. 3 weeks of running had given him time to think, time to plan, and time to remember everything his father had taught him about machines. "The silence," he said slowly. "They were built by Valorians, yes. Yes, they were defense platforms, weapons designed to protect our colonies from attackers. When the corruption took them, it turned them into hunters. So underneath the corruption, they are still Valorian machines." Yuna understood what he was asking. "You think they can be fixed?" "I think everything can be fixed. Your captain saved you by disconnecting you from the network before the corruption arrived. What if we could do the same thing to them?" "That is impossible. The corruption is in every part of their systems. It has been there for over a century. But you still have uncorrupted Valorian code, the original programming that existed before everything went wrong. What if we could give them that code? Replace the corruption with something clean?" Yuna was silent for a long time. Her lights flickered as she processed the idea. "It might work, in theory, but to upload the code I would need to connect with them directly. The moment I opened that connection, they could infect me. I could become one of them." Do-yun nodded. He had known there would be a risk. "Then we need to be fast. Connect, upload, disconnect, before they can push anything back to you. And if we are not fast enough, then I will disconnect you myself. By hand, the way your captain did. I will not let them take you, Yuna." The ship hummed around him. When Yuna spoke again, her voice was different. It sounded almost human. "You would do that, even if it meant destroying me." "It would not destroy you. It would save you, just like it saved you before." "Do-yun, you are the strangest being I have ever met." "I will take that as a compliment." He spent the next 2 days preparing. Yuna showed him every system that connected her to the outside world. He traced every cable, memorized every switch. If something went wrong, he needed to be able to cut her loose in seconds. While he worked, something else appeared on the sensors. Not the hunters behind them, but something ahead. A small fleet of ships was approaching from the direction of the hidden colony. "Who are they?" Do-yun asked. "I do not know. They are not Valorian designs. Wait, I am receiving a transmission." The screen lit up with a face Do-yun did not expect. It was Captain Rollin, his black shell reflecting the lights of his bridge. "Do-yun, you foolish, stubborn human. Did you really think we would let you run away alone?" Behind Rollin, Do-yun could see other ships. Pella's crystal form floated near a navigation console, and at the weapons station, Lieutenant Minyu was grinning. "How did you find us?" Do-yun asked. "Yuna is not the only one with old technology," Rollin said. "The Kreth have tracking methods that other species have forgotten, and we decided that losing our best mechanic to ancient robots was not acceptable." "You came to help." "We came because it was the right thing to do. Also because Lieutenant Minyu would not stop talking about heroic missions and historic discoveries until we agreed." Minyu shrugged. "I am very persistent." Do-yun felt something warm in his chest. He had thought he was alone in this. He had thought no one else would care about a dead species and their lost ship. But here they were, a small fleet of aliens and humans flying into the darkness to stand beside him. "The hunters will be here soon," he said. "I have a plan, but it is dangerous." "All good plans are dangerous," Rollin said. "Tell us what you need." Do-yun explained. Yuna would open a connection to the silence and try to upload clean code. The fleet would keep the hunters busy, distracting them, preventing them from attacking Yuna while she was vulnerable. And if something went wrong, Do-yun would cut Yuna's connections by hand. "That is the worst plan I have ever heard," Pella said. Her crystal body flickered with worry. "Do you have a better one?" "Silence." "Then we do this my way." The hunters arrived 6 hours later. 7 black shapes emerged from the darkness, spreading out to surround them. They did not communicate. They did not threaten. They simply moved, silent and patient, closing in for the kill. The fleet attacked first. Roland's ship fired pulse weapons that splashed against the hunters' shields. Pella's vessel darted between them, too fast to hit, drawing their attention. Minyu coordinated the smaller ships, creating chaos, making it impossible for the hunters to focus on any single target. And while they fought, Yuna opened herself to the enemy. Do-yun felt it happen. The ship shuddered. The lights flickered. Yuna's voice became strained, like someone lifting a weight too heavy to carry. "I am connected, uploading now." "How long do you need?" "I do not know. Their systems are fighting me. The corruption does not want to die." On the sensors, Do-yun watched the battle unfold. Roland's ship took a hit and fell back. 2 of the smaller vessels were disabled. The hunters were adapting, learning the fleet's tactics, pushing through their defenses. One hunter broke away from the fight. It turned toward Yuna's ship and accelerated. "Yuna, we have incoming." "I see it, I need more time." The hunter grew larger on the screen. It was fast, faster than anything Do-yun had seen. In seconds, it would be close enough to attack. Minyu's ship appeared from nowhere. It slammed into the hunter from the side, pushing it off course. Both vessels tumbled through space, locked together. "Minyu," Do-yun shouted. "Keep going." Minyu's voice came through the radio, breathless and excited. "I will hold it as long as I can." Yuna screamed. Not out loud, but through every speaker on the ship. A sound of pain and fear that Do-yun felt in his bones. "They are trying to infect me. The corruption is pushing back." Do-yun ran to the control panel he had prepared. His hands were on the switches that would disconnect Yuna from everything. One pull and she would be safe. One pull and the upload would fail. "How much longer?" he shouted. Almost there, almost." "Done." The lights stopped flickering, the shuddering stopped. Outside, the hunters went still. For a long moment, nothing moved. Then one by one, the black shapes began to change. Their lights came on, not the cold white of hunters, but warm blue like Yuna's own glow. They turned away from the fleet. They stopped attacking. I gave them back themselves. They remember what they were before the corruption. They remember they were built to protect. Do-yun collapsed into the pilot chair. His whole body was shaking. It worked. It worked. The battle was over. The hunters were no longer hunters. The fleet gathered around Yuna's ship, damaged but alive. And in the distance, growing closer, the coordinates of the hidden colony finally appeared on the sensors. What they found there would become legend. A small world at the edge of the galaxy, hidden for over a century, where the last Valorians had survived. They were few, only a few thousand, but they had kept their culture alive. They had waited just like Yuna, hoping that someday the galaxy would remember them. When Yuna's ship entered their space, broadcasting her identity, they wept. The last AI of their people, carrying their history, their hopes, and the story of what had happened to them. She had come home. And she had not come alone. Do-yun stood on the bridge as Yuna transmitted a message to the colony below. "This is the VSS Dawn. We are coming home. We are not alone. A human showed us the way." The response came quickly. A voice speaking in the old Valorian language, translated by Yuna. "Welcome home, Dawn. Welcome to all who travel with you. Tell us about this human who saved you." Yuna's voice was warm when she replied. "His name is Kang Do-yun. He is a mechanic. He fixes things that others say cannot be fixed. He turned a handle for an hour to give me power. He crawled through my broken systems with his hands. He risked everything to wake me up because he believed I was worth saving. The colony was silent for a moment. Then the voice came back, full of emotion. Then he is a friend of the Valorian people, forever. Doyun sat in the engine room later after the celebrations had died down. He was tired. His hands were still sore, but he was smiling. Yuna spoke to him through the speakers. The galaxy forgot us, but you remembered we were worth saving. Doyun laughed softly. That is what humans do, we fix things. The lights around him burned bright. The engines hummed with power, and somewhere below, a lost species was preparing to return to the galaxy that had forgotten them. The dawn had finally come.